1452. A child is born in a small Italian village. No last name. No legal rights. Illegitimate. Unwanted by law. Invisible to the world. By the age of 30, he is painting the most celebrated work in human history. By 40, he is designing flying machines that won't be built for 400 years. By 50, he has filled 13,000 pages with ideas that would reshape medicine, engineering, physics, and art simultaneously. But here is what they never tell you. Most of his inventions were never built. Most of his paintings were never finished. Most of his notebooks disappeared for centuries. And yet, Leonardo da Vinci is the most complete human being who ever lived. How? How does a man born with nothing become everything? This is not a story about talent. This is a story about what happens when relentless curiosity collides with impossible odds. If they did, you can too. The impossible beginning. Let's go back. April 15th, 1452. Vinci, Tuscany, Italy. A notary named Sir Piero da Vinci has a son with a local peasant woman named Caterina. They are not married. In 15th century Florence, this means everything. The child has no surname. He will be known only as Leonardo, from Vinci. Under Florentine law, illegitimate children cannot inherit property, cannot join guilds, cannot attend university, cannot hold public office. In one of the most stratified societies in human history, Leonardo starts at the very bottom. His father takes him in, but it is not a warm rescue. Sir Piero quickly marries a woman of proper standing. Then another. And another. For wives. 17 legitimate children. Leonardo is the ghost in the hallway. Present, but never fully claimed. He has no formal education in Latin, the language of scholars. No training in mathematics beyond basic arithmetic. No access to the great libraries that educated men of his time took for granted. What he has is this: eyes that cannot stop watching. Hands that cannot stop drawing. A mind that refuses to accept the answer because that's how it's always been done. Sir Piero, recognizing something unusual in his illegitimate son, apprentices the young Leonardo at age 14 to the workshop of Andrea del Verrocchio, one of Florence's great artists and craftsmen. This is where Leonardo's story truly begins, and where the world's first great crisis of genius begins. You see, in 1466, Florence is a city of rules. Painters paint. Sculptors sculpt. Engineers engineer. Physicians study the body. Each discipline is a walled garden. You do not cross between them. The guilds enforce it. The church reinforces it. Society demands it. To be a master, you must specialize. You must stay in your lane. Leonardo cannot stay in any lane. He studies light and paints shadows that have never been seen before. He dissects cadavers, illegal, dangerous, deeply transgressive, to understand how muscles move beneath skin. He fills notebooks with the flight patterns of birds, the spiraling currents of rivers, the geometry of the human skull. He designs war machines for patrons who want cannons. He sketches hydraulic systems for cities that need water. He imagines, in terrifying detail, a flying machine. In 1480, his patrons are confused. His peers are suspicious. Who is this man? Is he a painter? A scientist? An engineer? A philosopher? In the 15th century, the answer they give him is devastating. You are none of these things properly. You are a dilettante, a dabbler, a man who starts everything and finishes nothing. And they are not entirely wrong. The adoration of the Magi, commissioned, abandoned. The Battle of Anghiari, painted on a wall, the technique failed, never completed. The equestrian statue of Francesco Sforza, 80 tons of clay model, melted down for war cannons before it could ever be cast in bronze. Page after page of flying machines, never built. Designs for solar power concentrators, never built. A robotic night, hundreds of years before robotics existed, never built. Leonardo da Vinci, history's greatest genius, spent most of his life being misunderstood, underfunded, and unfinished. The crisis was not just poverty or illegitimacy. The crisis was this. He was a man whose mind operated 500 years ahead of the world around him. And the world had no idea what to do with him. Neither, for a long time, did H.E. Before we go deeper, if you've ever been told you're too much, that you have too many ideas, that you need to pick one thing and focus, this story is for you. Hit subscribe. Every Sunday we bring you another human being who refused to be defined by what the world expected of them. If they did, you can too. Now, let's talk about what Leonardo actually did with all of that impossible, uncontainable genius. The notebooks, the method, the... Here is something most people don't know about Leonardo da Vinci. He kept notebooks. Not casual journals. Not quick sketches. Obsessive, meticulous, relentless documentation of everything his mind encountered. 13,000 pages survive today. Historians estimate he produced closer to 50,000 pages total. The rest were lost, stolen, scattered across Europe after his death. These notebooks are unlike anything in human history. On a single page, you might find a detailed anatomical study of the human heart, veins mapped with surgical precision centuries before the microscope. Directly below it, a recipe for a sauce. To the left, the geometry of a church dome he's designing. In the margin, a note about the way light refracts through water droplets. Written in mirror script. Right to left. In a personal code no one could easily add. Why mirror script? Some historians say he was left-handed and it came naturally. Others say he was protecting his ideas from theft. The most compelling theory? He simply didn't care if anyone else could read them. He was writing for himself. For the future. For a world that didn't exist yet. This is the first disruption. In a world that demanded specialization, Leonardo created his own university inside his own mind. And he attended it every single day. Florence, 1482. Leonardo is 30 years old. He needs work. Stable work. Patrons. He writes a letter to Ludovico Sforza, the powerful Duke of Milan, listing his qualifications. The letter is 9 paragraphs long. 8 of those paragraphs describe his abilities as a military engineer. War machines. Portable bridges. Armored vehicles. Cannons that fire multiple projectiles simultaneously. Usually. One paragraph, the last, mentions almost as an afterthought. I can also paint. The man who would create the Last Supper and the Mona Lisa introduces himself as a weapons designer. Because that is what the world needed. That is what paid the bills. That is the deal Leonardo made with R.E.L.T. And here is where the story becomes devastatingly human. Leonardo despised war. His notebooks are full of it. He calls war machines the most brutal madness. He writes about the horror of conflict, the waste of life, the obscenity of violence. And yet for 17 years in Milan, he designs weapons for Ludovico Sforza. Not because he wanted to. Because he had no choice. Because patronage, the oxygen of Renaissance genius, required you to serve the powerful. This is the second disruption, and the second crisis inside the first. Leonardo's genius was caged. Funded only when it served power. Celebrated only when it produced something beautiful for a patron's wall or a weapon for a patron's war. His deepest work, the anatomical studies, the physics of water, the ornithology of birds, the mathematics of light, was done in secret. In notebooks. By candlelight. Tea alone. Milan. 1495. Leonardo begins the Last Supper. It will take him 3 years. It will nearly destroy him. He refuses to paint it in the traditional fresco method. Wet plaster, fast work, permanent. Too limiting. He needs to stop. To think. To return. To revise. He invents his own technique, tempera and oil on plaster. His patron is furious at the pace. The prior of the church complains repeatedly. He demands Leonardo stop dawdling and finish. Leonardo reportedly responds with cold fury. If the prior doesn't stop interrupting, he will use the prior's face as the model. For Judas. The prior stops. Complaining. The painting begins to deteriorate within decades of completion. The technique was imperfect. Leonardo knew it might fail. He chose the freedom to think over the permanence the result. This is who Leonardo da Vinci was. He chose the process over the product. Every single time. 1499. French forces invade Milan. Ludovico Sforza flees. The 80-ton clay model of the equestrian statue, 16 years of Leonardo's work, is used as target practice by French archers. Destroyed in hours. 16 years. Gone. Leonardo packs his notebooks. ND starts again. He is 47 years old. He has no permanent home. He has no finished masterpiece to his name in science or engineering. He has thousands of pages of ideas the world cannot yet use. And he keeps going. Because for Leonardo, stopping was never an option. Not because he was fearless, but because curiosity was stronger than fear. Florence. 1503. He begins a portrait of a merchant's wife. He will work on it for 4 years. He will never deliver it to the merchant. He will carry it with him for the rest of his life. That painting is the Mona Lisa. He wasn't being difficult. He wasn't stealing. He simply could not stop seeing new things in it. New ways the light fell. New depths in her expression. New understanding of atmosphere and shadow and the infinite complexity of a human face. The painting was never finished because Leonardo never stopped learning from it. This is the disruption. Not a single invention. Not a single painting. But a method. Sapavida. To know how to see. Leonardo's greatest invention was not a flying machine or a war engine. It was a way of looking at the world that had never existed before, and has never been replicated since. What 13,000 pages? Change. Here is the question history asks about Leonardo. Why didn't his inventions change the world in his own time? Why did his designs for flying machines wait 400 years? Why did his anatomical discoveries have to be independently rediscovered by others? Because the notebooks were lost. After Leonardo died in 1519, in France, in the arms of King Francis I, who had called him the greatest man of the age, his notebooks passed to his assistant, Francesco Melzi. Melzi guarded them for 50 years. When Melzi died, his heirs had no idea what they had. The notebooks were scattered, stolen, sold, passed between collectors, hidden in attics, lost in wars. For nearly 300 years, the full scope of Leonardo's work was invisible to science and histo. Why? And yet, even without the notebooks, the impact was unstoppable. His anatomical drawings, when finally rediscovered, were so accurate that modern surgeons have used them as reference materials. Not as curiosities, as actual guides. His studies of blood flow through the heart's aortic valve, sketched in 1510, were not confirmed by medical science until 2014. 500 years later. Not an approximation. Not a close guess. Correct. His understanding of plate tectonics, the movement of Earth's geological layers, sketched from fossil observations in the mountains of northern Italy, predated the scientific theory by 450 years. His design for a solar power concentrator, a concave mirror to focus sunlight and boil water, is functionally identical to concentrated solar power plants built in the 21st century. His helicopter sketch of 1489, the aerial screw, uses the same principle as the modern helicopter. Rotor. Let me be absolutely clear about what this means. One human being. No university degree. No laboratory beyond what he could build himself. No scientific community to collaborate with. Alone, by candlelight, in the margins of notebooks no one was meant to read. Solved problems that would take organized science centuries to reach. The results, when the world finally caught up, were staggering. From a world where human flight was a myth to aviation, built on principles Leonardo had sketched 400 years prior. From a world where the heart was a mystery to modern cardiac surgery, aided by anatomical maps Leonardo drew in secret. From sun as mere light to solar energy, following concentrator designs Leonardo imagined. In 1515. That is not contribution. That is not influence. That is a one-man civilization. I want you to pause for a moment. Leonardo da Vinci filled 13,000 pages, maybe 50,000 pages, with ideas. Most of them were never seen in his lifetime. Most of them were never built in his lifetime. He never knew that 500 years later, surgeons would use his heart diagrams. He never knew that engineers would build his flying machines. He never knew that solar farms would follow his sketches. He wrote Hem anyway. What are you writing? What are you building? What are you creating that the world isn't ready for yet? Drop it in the comments. Because maybe the world needs another 5 years to catch up. Maybe 50. Maybe 500. But only if you don't stop writing. Now, let's talk about what Leonardo means for you. Today. Right now. The 4 lessons of the man who knew everything. So what do we actually learn from Leonardo da Vinci? Not the myth. Not the genius. The human being. Lesson 1. Curiosity is not a distraction. It is the discipline. The world will tell you to focus. To specialize. To pick one thing. Leonardo picked everything. And it made him better at each individual thing. His understanding of water currents made his paintings more fluid. His anatomical knowledge made his portraits more alive. His engineering mind made his art structurally perfect. Every time you follow a seemingly unrelated curiosity, you are not wasting time. You are building connections that focused specialists will never find. The most important breakthroughs in human history have come from people who refuse to stay in one box. Steve Jobs studied calligraphy. It gave us the Max typography. Darwin studied barnacles. It gave him the patience to prove evolution. Leonardo studied birds. It gave humanity flight. Your curiosity is not a flaw. It is your competitive advantage. Lesson TWO. The notebook is the superpower. Leonardo did not have a better brain than the people around him. He had a better system for capturing what his brain produced. Ed. 13,000 pages. Every observation. Every question. Every half-formed idea. Every sketch that went nowhere and every sketch that changed medicine 500 years later. He didn't know which ideas would matter. So he wrote them all down. You have had ideas that could change your life, your industry, maybe the world. And you let them pass. Because you were sure you'd remember. Because it didn't seem important enough to write down. Because you didn't have a note book. Leonardo's lesson is simple. Write everything down. Everything. You don't need to know which idea matters yet. You just need to make sure it doesn't disappear. Lesson 3. Being multipassionate is not weakness. It's evolution. In Leonardo's time, being everything was seen as being nothing. In our time, we have a word for people like Leonardo. We call them scattered, unfocused, can't see, omit. But look at what the world actually rewards now. Elon Musk, electric vehicles, space travel, neural interfaces, social media. Steve Jobs, computers, music players, phones, animated films. Da Vinci, painting, anatomy, engineering, architecture, music, geology, math. Ematics. The people who cross disciplines don't just contribute to multiple fields. They create entirely new fields that never existed before. Because they see connections that specialists, by definition, not see. If you are someone who has always been too much, too many interests, too many ideas, too hard to categorize, stop apologizing for it. Start using it. Lesson 4. The unfinished work is not failure. It is evidence of infinite standard. Leonardo's most famous failures were unfinished masterpieces. He didn't abandon the Mona Lisa because he lost interest. He carried it with him for 16 years because he kept seeing new truth in it. He didn't leave the adoration of the Magi incomplete because he was lazy. He left it because no version he could execute was yet equal to the vision in his mind. There is a difference between quitting and refusing to settle. Leonardo never quit. He refused to settle. Pause. Your unfinished project, the one you keep returning to, keep revising, keep seeing new layers in. That is not your failure. That might be your masterpiece. In progress. Here is my challenge to you. Leonardo da Vinci was born with no name, no rights, no money, no university, and no world that was ready for what he had to offer. He kept going. He wrote 50,000 pages for a future he would never see. He designed inventions that wouldn't be built for 400 years. He painted a portrait he never stopped improving. He created a method of seeing that transformed every field of human knowledge, not in his lifetime, but in 5 centuries of human civilization. Ion after it. You have resources Leonardo never had. You have access to information he could only dream of. You have tools that would have looked like magic to him. And somewhere, right now, you have an idea sitting in your head, unwritten, unbuilt, unsent, because the world isn't ready. Or you think you're not ready. Or you're waiting for permission from a patron who may never come. Leonardo didn't wait for permission. He filled 50,000 pages anyway. And 500 years later, the world caught up. What are you waiting for? This is the History Disruptors. Every Sunday, we bring you the story of someone who faced the impossible and found a way through. Leonardo da Vinci was born a nobody. Illegitimate. Unnamed. Invisible to the law. He filled 50,000 pages with ideas the world wasn't ready for. He never finished his greatest works, because his standard was infinite. He designed the future in secret, by candlelight, in mirror script, alone. Fleming kept his discovery alive for 12 years while the world ignored him. The Wright brothers flew while experts said flight was impossible. Tesla imagined electricity before anyone could see it. And Leonardo da Vinci drew the future with ink and candlelight, 500 years before the world had eyes to see it. They all faced dismissal. They all faced invisibility. They all faced moments when stopping made every logical, practical, rational sense. They didn't stew. P. If they D. You. Can. Too. I have been impressed with the urgency of doing. Knowing is not enough. We must apply. Being willing is not enough. We must do. Leonardo da Vinci.